Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mighty High, and in today's video I am going to showcase and also try to improve on this awesome warped and crimson stem farm. So this farm, I kind of took some inspiration out of Tango's farm and also saw a few other farms to see how they were made and came up with this design. So obviously we're using the TNT to break the blocks because TNT blows up 100% of the blocks, and we've also got some ancient debris. So this isn't exactly a cheap farm in all fairness, because ancient debris is not exactly easy to get. And as you can see from up here, we've still got a few problems with it because the mushroom stem keeps growing faster than the blocks. It ends up pushing the ancient debris out instead, which is kind of a bit of an annoyance. So as I say, this is only a prototype and hopefully we can sort something properly out. But before we do that, I might as well explain the basics of this farm if you don't know already. So essentially we've got TNT dupers up there duping the TNT at roughly a good enough distance where it will break blocks, apart from these blocks here. But yeah, all I need to do is move the TNT down a tiny bit, but it will basically just break these blocks as and when they form. So how they form is we're basically using the warped nylium, and we've also got a block swapper underneath here to change it. So there's the crimson nylium, and then there's the warped nylium that we've got on a block swapper. So we can just swap that, and then that TNT is crimson for now. But if we switch this off, so here's the switch here to switch it all off. So if we switch that off, then we have a block covering it, which will then just turn that into normal netherrack eventually. There, it just turned into normal netherrack, and then we can switch the farm back on, and we should be getting the warped types of fungus as well, which is awesome. And there you can see there we're getting the warped stems and that. So that's how we get the mushrooms to grow, because all we need to do is bone meal the warped and crimson nylium to get the actual mushroom stem. So that's all good. And then if we don't get a mushroom, we get these pistons that push the block over to this side. And yes, this isn't exactly working, but that's what it's supposed to do anyway, push these blocks over, and then it gets blown up by the TNT. But a problem I'm getting is these pistons are basically extending at the same time a mushroom grows, which then gets this ancient debris out of line, which I'm not 100% sure how to fix. And as you can see, it can break the farm. So that's something we've got to figure out, and the rest is just basically on this clock here. Right, so I hope you got the basic outline of how this farm works. I will go through in detail as I'm actually building it properly, but let's switch this off anyway, because I don't think you want to hear that in the background of the video, and we can just start it over here, I guess. Alright, so to start off with, we might as well get on with the block swapper first. That is going to determine whether we have the warped stuff or the crimson stuff. So to do that, let's come over here. We want a solid block. So I'm using the crimson, no, warped stem even, but it can be any solid block. Then redstone torch. Then we want a repeater going that way, and then a repeater that way, leading into a solid block like so. Then on one of these blocks we want a redstone dust, and then on this side we want redstone torch and a redstone torch. Then we want to grab some sticky pistons. We want to place a sticky piston facing up there, and then a piston on that side and a piston on there, the redstone torch even on both sides. And then we can put our warped crimson nylium there, and let's just get our warped nylium, and then we can place our warped nylium there, and we just grab ourselves a button And we can place a button there, and it should swap from left to right. And then again, there. Awesome. So now we've got our block swapper, which will determine what block we can use. We do actually need to place some netherrack. And this netherrack, this is the block where the actual stem is going to grow on. And yeah, and that goes on there. So if we bone meal this, that will turn into the warped nylium, like so. And then let's just get rid of that and replace it again. And then if we swap that back and then bone meal this, this will be the crimson nylium, like so. And that happens 9 times out of 10. There is a rare possibility that this netherrack will actually turn into the one that's the block that's below. So in this case, it will be the warped, but it could also be the crimson as well if the crimson is there. But it should normally go to this one first because this is the closest to it. If it was here, it would be between, it would literally be a 50-50 chance between the warped and the crimson. See, like we got crimson there, for example. Let's just swap them around quickly. And then we do that again, we might get nylium. And then we do it again, and it's a 50-50 chance. But if we have the block of netherrack 1 block up, it gives us more of a chance to get the nylium than the crimson, or in this state, the crimson more than the nylium. So that's how this works. It's somewhat technical. So now we've got our first stage in. This second part is to actually find out how we're going to get the mushrooms to grow. And that's really quite easy. All we need to do is bone meal this block here and then keep bone milling it until we get our mushroom. But sometimes it does give you a weed instead. I'm just going to call them weeds for this videos because yeah, so there we got a mushroom, but 9 times out of 10 you probably get a weed. So how do we fix that, I wonder? Well, we need to bone meal this block and also bone meal the block above it in order to grow the mushroom. So if we get the warped fungi and the crimson fungi, like so, what we need to do is we need to bone meal that so that it grows, bone meal this block so that it grows it, and also bone meal the mushroom. So if we bone meal this mushroom, eventually it will just grow into a mushroom like that. And that is how we get our mushrooms. So it literally is 100% renewable if you can do it the right way. So let's get rid of that. So the way we do that is, I think I'm going to set up a dispenser facing that way on top of this block, and also a dispenser on the bottom facing there. So it's actually bone milling this block. So we want this block to be bone milled so that it turns into either the crimson or the warped nylium. And we also want the top to be bone milled for the actual mushroom, like that, for example, or that. And then we just fill this with bone meal. I will sort out a filling system for these guys later, but for now, I'm not entirely sure where the hopper line is going to go for that, so I'll leave it as is. And just to prove that this will go back, if we cover that block, it will turn back into netherrack eventually. So that's turned into netherrack now. So the way we're going to power these dispensers is by using an observer clock, I think. So if we have an observer facing that way into the dispenser like that, and then we have a piston and a observer. So if we put our piston facing that way, not that way, that way even, there, a couple of blocks away from this, and then if we have a observer facing that way, I believe, yes it is, then if we power this piston, let's just use the button for now, power this piston, you can hear that it goes off, and it was actually bone milling both of these. So we saw bone meal come out of here and bone meal come out of here as well, but we'll use more bone meal on this dispenser than we will on the bottom dispenser for sure. So just bear that in mind, and then we can just hook this piston up to some kind of power system later on once we figured out some other redstone. Alright, so now we've got that sorted out, it's probably time to put the pistons in so that we can actually move the crimson or warped stems away from this so that they can be blown up. So I think we need a good 6, 7, 8. I did use about 13 over there, but I don't think we need that many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I think 10's probably a good number in all fairness. And then to power these, I think it's probably easier just to use observer lines. So if we just do that, the observer needs to be facing in that way. So the arrow's pointing into the pistons, and then we do that every other piston like that, and that should power these two pistons. This should power these two pistons. This piston's going to be out alert, so let's do that instead, and then just alternate these, so hopefully we can get all of them. And this one. Oh, and then the last one should be these two down here. Yep, awesome. And then to power these, I think we're just going to use the same as we did over here with the observer lines. So all this is the observer observing a repeater over there. So let's just do that. Let's just place a junk block there. And we want the observers facing in that way, so they will eventually all get triggered and go up. So if we break this block here, all of these pistons should trigger. And they do. It is a bit of a staggered pattern. Maybe we would be better if they all did it at the same time. But that might actually be a better way of doing it. So let's see if we can figure something out to power all these pistons without using observers, because I think that might be the problem we're having over here, where the ancient debris just gets flying off over there. So if we manage to power these pistons a better way, then hopefully that we don't get that problem. Alright, so I think I've got something to power these pistons now. I also had to move them a block back because I realized that we're going to actually have a block here, so that's the reason why. Otherwise we would have not had any room for the mushrooms to grow. So I'm using observers and a torch tower, which I'm hoping will be better than just using observers, because eventually we will end up powering this block here for some kind of clock, I think. So if we just power this block from underneath, that will definitely set that off, and then again, so on and so forth. And I'm hoping that will be enough so that it doesn't get the netherite or ancient debris even over when the mushrooms grow like this. So I'm hoping that will work, but it may not. Right, so now we've got that sorted out, it's probably a good idea to put the clock in, and I am literally just going to use repeaters for this instead of any other clock, because they just work the best. I could use a hopper clock if I really wanted to and compact it a bit more, but I think this repeater clock will be enough for what we need anyway. So plus I really like working with these. I don't know why, but I just find it really fun to work with them. So yeah, so we've got our clock. All we need to do is put some redstone there. This is probably a bit longer than the one I did over here, I think. Actually, it may be about the same. It may be slightly longer, but it doesn't necessarily matter. So if we need to do a tiny bit more, we need to actually put a block there leading into a piston. So let's have that piston there instead. And then we have that block. And then we'll have that block there. So that will then get powered. So what we want is we want this block to go here when we want it to activate, and then subtract when we want to switch off, because otherwise this is just going to keep going in a loop otherwise. So another thing we want to do is we need a short pulse to actually activate this. And to do that, what we do is we'll have a comparator facing in that. Actually, no, we need it to go the other way, I think. Yeah, we need it in this way. So if we move that out the way, and we can have it on this side instead. So we have a block there with our piston, like so. And then we need to power this redstone dust here, which is... Oh, wait a minute. There we go. And then we need to power... Let's power this block with a repeater like that. And that should then start the clock once we do something else. And the only thing we need to do is have a piston there and a block there. I forget what this circuit's called, but I think you know what I'm on about. And then we have a redstone... I think we can just get away with redstone dust there, to be fair. And then we can have a button there. And then what we do need to do is have this piston powered over here with redstone dust, like that. Oh, right. Let's just put a target block there then. So we can power that piston, and we need a lever here, not a button. So, yeah, a lever please, not a button. Thank you. Awesome. So when we flick this lever, that should extend this piston so that this block's here, and also start this clock. Hopefully. And no, it didn't. Okay, we need to, I think, probably add a couple of repeaters there. Oh, we can just add one repeater there on 4 ticks. That should do the job. No, it didn't, did it? Alright, so I figured out the problem, and we need to power this block here. So let's just move everything over by one block. So repeater, block, and repeater there. And I think that should do it. So if we flick that lever now... Oh, I missed a bit of redstone dust. There we go. Let's just switch that off. And then make sure it does work the next time. Now. Yep. Awesome. And then that should go around, and then... Yep. Right. Nice. So now we've got our clock. We've got most of this sorted out. The only thing we need to do now is power this piston here. And we can do that using this redstone line here, I guess. So if we just come out a couple of blocks here, go around the out... This is going to be horrible, isn't it? Probably should have done that over this side, to be fair with you. What I could do, though, is just swap the dispensers around so they are on the other side instead. So if we just put our dispensers on this side instead, and then we can power this piston with this here. And that's literally just a bit of redstone like that. And then that powers that. And then we've got literally like bone meal for days, hopefully. So let's fill this up. And the top one up as well. Nice. Awesome. So now what we want to do now is put some ancient debris on these pistons, because ancient debris can be pushed with a piston, which is awesome. So let's do that. And one thing that's... Oh no, it should be okay. So let's see when we actually get ourselves a mushroom and see if it's working properly. Well, this could take longer than I thought. Oh, we got a mushroom. Literally just as I said it. And then that should push that over to there. Nice. And it doesn't look like we got any traps there either. That still could happen though, so I'll be watching out for that. Right, so now we've got that sorted out, I think the next thing to do is figure out where we want the TNT to blow up. And that is going to possibly be the life or death of this build. I'm not 100% sure. But I do know what we need really is a bit of TNT to explode roughly around here. We need to give ourselves like 5 or 6 blocks leeway. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 blocks there. So we want the TNT to explode roughly around that block there. But that's not going to be enough, I don't think, because that's only going to get rid of these blocks here from about that radius, possibly some over here as well. What we want is we want to come down a few blocks and over a couple of blocks. And we want a TNT to blow up there and there, possibly even there. And on this side as well here, so that we can blow up everything. Hopefully missing all of this redstone. Yeah, so that's the problem. Alright, so to build these TNT jeepers, it's really quite simple. Bearing in mind that our TNT is going to go there. So we want our wall to go there even. And then what we want on there is our TNT down there. And then we can build up the slime stuff from there. So what we want is something like this. Like that. And then down here, block there, and a block there. And then we want a coral fan there. It can be a dead coral fan, it doesn't matter. Rails, and then minecart there. And then we do the same with this TNT duper. And that's pretty much it for the TNT duper. I just want to make sure that that won't interfere with anything. I really hope that TNT doesn't end up blowing this up for some reason, but it shouldn't do. And then all we want to do is add a piston on that side there. And then coming down here and a piston there as well. So now we want to prime these, which is going to be a bit tricky. Because here it is where you find out whether you've actually done it right or not. Because if not, it could blow up. So the only... how we prime them is basically by just powering this piston and letting go. And then that primes it like that. And luckily, it didn't look like it did anything. But it did blow up most of our redstone down here, didn't it? Yep, that's working. Awesome. So what we need to do is move these up slightly. I think we need to move them up a good 5 or 6 blocks. 4. So that should be high enough now. And then we need to do the same with this one. Instead of moving it, I might as well just use a piston to move it instead of rebuilding the whole thing. Now I suppose I should probably test this one. Just in case anything happens. Hopefully not. Blow up. Yeah, it blows up just here. That's actually a pretty decent place to blow up. So I'm not actually going to complain about that one too much. Still haven't figured that problem out, have we? Looks like it's happened twice with these two. Oh. Well, regardless of not being able to fix that problem, I really thought we could. Let's sort out the redstone for powering these pistons for the dispensers, the dupers even. And I'm going to do that with literally just a torch tower because we've already got this, so why not just use it? And I need to go all the way up there. Right, so we've got our torch tower done now, and that's powering these pistons, which is going to dupe the TNT, because that's all we need. So when these get depowered and then powered again via this redstone torch, it will dupe TNT, and that will happen every time this clock goes around. So once this repeater powers this block, that should then dupe the TNT because the signal should go all the way up there. But I'm not going to do that quite just yet because we still need to sort out how we're going to collect all the items. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so I think I've actually got some sort of decent collection system sorted now. So we're basically just using a load of hoppers instead of water, but these hoppers are just below the blast radius of the TNT, which is why they're not blowing up, or at least I hope they don't blow up. I have had these warped nylium and crimson blocks blow up, so that's the reason why I've got this obsidian here, and hopefully we can add some pistons, some hoppers there, but no. No, we can't, unfortunately. So I think I'm going to leave it there for this video, because I think this is somewhat of a decent farm, if you ask me. I mean, yeah, we get some loss, but we're always going to get lost when we use TNT to blow stuff up. It just depends on how much loss. Plus, it's not like we need the saplings or anything, because it's growing it like instantly there. So I'm actually really happy about this design. Yeah, there are things we can tweak because things are breaking, like that, for example. But if you guys do have any suggestions in the comments, then put it down in the comments below and I'll have a look at them to see where I'm going wrong. But I think I'm going to leave it there for now. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Mighty High. If you like this video, then please click the like button. And if you really liked it, then click the subscribe button and ding that bell for further uploads. I've been Mighty High, and thank you very much for watching. Good